maybe first of all, are there some non-Dutch speaking persons in the audience? Everyone understands Dutch? No? Then I'll do it in English, no problem. All right, so welcome on this session on outsmarting deception, building resilience for remote teams. For those who don't know me yet, my name is Matthias Wens. I'm a technical pre-sales engineer at Netleaf, part of Syntory. Before that, I've been working there for almost 2 years now. Before that, I've been active as a penetration tester at a couple different companies. But yeah, decided to make the change from the offensive side to the defensive side and provide some quality solutions to clients. Next to that, I'm also a lecturer at Karel de Grote Hogeschool College in Antwerp, where I teach cybersecurity-related courses within the Applied Computer Science evening program for work students. So, okay, today we're going to focus on how to secure our remote workforce. If you look at our remote workforce, we see that since the COVID pandemic, a lot of companies had to change their way of working. In a quick instance, they had to move really quick from working on-prem to working remotely. And we see that since the COVID pandemic has stopped or had finished, that the amount of time that our employees work at home has been decreasing. So we no longer work full-time from home, but most of the organizations allow for 1, 2, 3 days a week to work from home. But still, it is an increasing trend to allow at least 1 day to work from home. And we see now that over 68% of all employees are working from home, and it has become a high demand when searching for a job to be at least able to work 1 day from home. And of course, this change in work culture and this change in where we work has been identified by cybercriminals, who are also evolving their ways of attacking, evolving the threat landscape to attack specifically these persons that are, or these employees that are not working from the office, but are working from home. And as a result, we see that this also ensures that the cost of cyber crime keeps increasing. So studies show that by the end of 2020, or by 2025, so by the end of this year, the global cost of cybersecurity is estimated to be at least $10.5 trillion worldwide. Furthermore, we see that cyber criminals no longer only focus on those organizations that are the big fish, where the large money is located, where they can receive the biggest bounties, but they are also focusing on the lesser or the smaller companies, those companies that might even not have a large income, like non-profit organizations or healthcare organizations, but that have a social function where they can disrupt the social function within the country where they are located. So yeah, if we look at our remote workers, if we want to protect them, we first of all have to understand what the actual risk is that is related to these remote workers. And I've listed a total of 10 different risks that remote workers are susceptible to. First of all, phishing and social engineering attacks. Remote workers are not more vulnerable to these kind of attacks, but are defense mechanisms that are in place to ensure that these attacks are timely detected are a bit less. Because imagine you are working at the office, you and your colleagues all receive the same phishing email. You might yourself not detect the email, but some of your colleagues might detect the email and they might say, I have received some strange email, did you also receive it? So this social security framework that is used to help each other out to detect these kind of emails, they are less available for someone who is working from home, who is working remotely. So this means that our employees have to be trained a lot better to be able to detect these kind of attacks, because they have to rely on their own knowledge and their own experience within awareness to be able to detect these kind of attacks. And of course, because they are more vulnerable to this kind of attacks, the weak passwords are also a great threat to them. Partially because there are more of these kind of attacks, but also because they are working from a less secured environment. So if you have a look at the physical security part of a remote worker, they might leave their laptop somewhere unsupervised. Someone with bad intentions might be able to use weak passwords to access their device and as such access the data that is present on these devices. File sharing, of course, an additional risk. If you are working remotely, you are not located behind the firewall, your organization's firewall. And we see that a lot of organizations have trimmed down the possible applications that can be used to share files in their firewall. So for example, they might block access to Dropbox, or they might block access to a WeTransfer. If you are working remotely, when your VPN is enabled, you are partially going through the firewall, or you might have it configured to go through the firewall and have these defenses. But VPN connections are not tamper-proof. This means that an employee can just disable the connection and as such still be able to access these unsafe websites if we have no additional security features enabled. Of course, denial of service attacks are also cutting off remote workers, so VPN connections and so on will no longer work if, of course, the company network is down, meaning that your employees might not be able to work and to have access to resources that are present on the company network, but also if their own Wi-Fi network, for example, is susceptible to some kind of attack or some kind of timeout, for example, a service window from the operator. In that case, they are also or might also not be able to access these resources that are present on within the organization. Unsecured Wi-Fi network, so one of the issues I already mentioned there. Another issue is, of course, that workers from home or remote workers, let's say they are in a hotel somewhere, they are traveling abroad, they have to rely on the security of a third party to ensure that their Wi-Fi is secured and their traffic cannot be read. So this means that, for example, if they are working remotely, or they're working here, for example, or somewhere else, and you have an unsecured Wi-Fi network, that it poses an additional threat for the work that your employee is doing. And so, yeah, it's an additional issue that we need to tackle. Some more issues. So we already had 5. The 5 next one are a little bit more obvious. First of all, neglecting essential system updates. This is a little bit less. This occurs a little bit less, but your employees who are working remote might neglect this kind of updates. Slow incident response times. Someone who has an issue with their laptop, let's say he sees a ransomware issue, he has a correct awareness built in, so he shuts down his laptop. The process from there on going to resolving or just notifying IT of the incident takes a lot longer. Also, investigating the incident could take a lot longer because you are not present with the device that is being infected, and you might not be able to have a quick response time on that. Expanded attack surface and personal device risks. Also if they are using personal devices to make, for example, a Wi-Fi connection, a hotspot, but also to share the, certain kind of files and so on, poses an additional risk when they are not within the secure confines of your organization and your building. Public risks, shoulder surfing, those speak for themselves. And of course, cloud security misconfigurations, which are also less captured if you're not behind a firewall. So if you look at all these 10 different kinds of risks that are related to remote work, we can actually mitigate them by looking at 3 different pillars. And the first pillar is actually the most easy one, and it is looking at email security and security awareness. If you look at the most recent trends within phishing, which is actually top 1 issue risk for remote workers, we see that there are 5 more recent evolutions within phishing. First of all, we see that malware is more and more being distributed through familiar platforms. Platforms such as a legitimate OneDrive or SharePoint link, Dropbox, which is legitimate. And the issue is not the platform that is being used, but the file which is being hosted on this platform. And if you're looking at a solution, an email security solution, we need to be able to have some kind of solution that is not only looking at a URL that is being sent to us through email or through any other medium, but that is also looking at what is positioned on this URL, what kind of website or which kind of file is being hosted on website. So we need to look at some solution that goes into multiple steps within the phishing attempt. Next, QR code phishing of quishing, of course, is also a trend that has been going on since a little bit over a year, which has been largely emerging. Also there, a basic email security gateway will be able to detect URLs, but won't be able to detect a URL that's being encoded as a QR code. So also over there, we need to look into some kind of solution that is able to detect these more advanced threats. Spear phishing via social media, which will totally circumvent your email security solutions and will provide malicious code to your end users through social media platforms. This can mostly be mitigated through the use of a solid security awareness program. So we need to make sure that our end users are aware of all risks related to URLs that they receive, QR codes that they receive, and so on. Phishing via voice cloning, also an emerging threat where the voice might be cloned through AI. But we see also more recently that even Teams calls are being cloned entirely through AI, and as such, employees are or they try to convince our employees of taking some kind of action by using these kind of AI techniques. And finally, smishing via SIM swapping, where new SIM cards are being used and existing phone numbers are cloned upon this new SIM card, and as such, we receive something from a familiar phone number, but it's actually not originating from the device we think that it's originating from. So all these kind of more recent phishing trends, and of course already existing phishing trends, we can mitigate through a solid email security solution. So what do we need to look at if we are looking at an email security solution? First of all, we need to have some kind of I'm going to start with the second one, some kind of basic spam filter. Basic spam filters will be able to capture the gross of all attacks. So 95% of all attacks that are being sent out will be filtered out by a basic spam filter with URL inspection, which will be able to scan, for example, QR codes and so on. Next, we are also required to use email encryption. And email encryption will partially mitigate the risk of our weak Wi-Fi networks, because if we enforce encryption, TLS encryption, on all incoming emails, we won't be able to accept emails which are not encrypted, and as such, accept emails that can be read out when there is a man-in-the-middle attack, for example. Data loss prevention will also help with avoiding the leak of data through email security solutions. So we see that now email security solutions will provide some kind of techniques that will, first of all, look at which files or which messages are being sent. And they will use different techniques to ensure that if you always send some kind of file to one recipient, that if you, for example, send it to another recipient, that in that case there will be an alert triggered and your misaddressed email will be contained and not sent out. AI protection solutions are, of course, the part that will capture the final 5% of emails that are phishing emails that are entering your environment. We see now that a lot of AI is being used to detect whether, for example, or to see how some kind of email can be positioned within your organization. So even if there is nothing wrong with the email itself, we are now able to detect if the email is logically within, or has a logic position within your environment, or there is something fishy going on, and that it might be an attack. Finally, of course, we will need some kind of solution that will help us to educate our end users to capture these kind of attacks that will go through and will at least, or will still enter your environment, that they will be able to detect these kind of attacks. So this email security will actually be a first quick win that we can incorporate to tackle or already the first couple of issues and risks that we see for remote workers. As soon as this is done, we can actually go on to a much more larger implementation, something that is more or requires a little bit more effort. But we see that the classic way of connecting our users to our corporate network through VPN is actually a little bit changing at the moment. Because, of course, there are risks when we allow our users to connect through VPN. First of all, if our end user device is being compromised and our users connect through VPN to our corporate network, the attacker will be able to access all resources within at least the VLAN where the VPN is being terminated. So this means that even though the end user might not have the correct permissions to log in to some kind of servers or to do something on a server, the attacker is still able to access these kind of servers. They might be able to ping it, they might be able to use or to try default credentials or some known attack vectors to attack these servers. So this is a big risk related to our VPN connection. An additional risk is, of course, that, or an additional problem is that using VPN, our local office will become a bottleneck for all traffic for both on-prem users, but also for all our remote users. So if something goes wrong with our configuration at our local office, be it something wrong with the uplink or a limit or the uplink being not large enough, or be it something wrong with our firewalls, for example, in that case, not only your on-prem workers won't be able to connect to, for example, SaaS applications that are being secured or to a private data center and so on, but also your remote workers won't be able to connect. And SASE is actually a solution that will try to tackle these issues. Moreover, of course, we have I already mentioned it, but we have no tamper-proof agent. So this means that an end user can just disable the agent, which means that if you are routing all traffic through your VPN, that at that moment the end user is no longer located behind the firewall. If you are using split tunneling, for example, in that case, even with the VPN solution, there is no firewall before your to detect all your internet traffic. So if you look at the solution for this, we see that SASE, Secure Access Service Edge, is actually tackling all of the different issues that are present with a classic VPN solution. So first of all, it's a cloud-based solution which will work with a client on each end user's device. And each connection that you make to any resource will first of all go to the SASE solution. And over there, we will check first of all if it's just normal internet traffic, if the internet traffic is allowed, or if there's something dangerous going on with the internet traffic. But secondly, if you want to access some kind of specific resource that you would normally access through a VPN connection, at that moment, your SASE solution will look at the rights that you have, the individual rights for your individual end user, and will at that moment decide if the connection has or can be securely set up or the connection has to be blocked off. So we're looking at a zero trust approach to everything that has to do with connecting to all services that are located within your organization or that has to be secured for your organization. The main benefit that also is associated with, of course, SASE is that we can replace all those more legacy or, well, more outdated services such as a default classic VPN, but we can also replace some more advanced technologies such as our next-gen firewall. We can replace a large part of this. Will a firewall be or will we remove the firewall completely? No, of course not. There are always some kind of devices on-prem, be it IoT devices, access controls, and so on, that need a firewall. But we can downscale it enormously, meaning that the cost to host or to buy the firewall, to host subscriptions on the firewall, will be less than if you have the classic setup that we have right now. So if you look at the design with SASE, we see that we can couple all different kind of devices, all different kind of services, and all different kind of locations to our SASE environment. So first of all, we see, yeah, of course, our data center, our on-prem, our branch offices, our main office, and so on. We can all connect it securely through a device that is placed on-prem to our cloud application. For cloud applications, SaaS applications that we see on the right, which are most of the time not being secured, we can now secure them through our SASE platform. This means, for example, an O365 login screen, which is normally accessible to anyone who wants to access it if they have the correct URL. We can now secure it. So this means that only someone who has the right or the correct rights, that they can access your login screen, which means, in addition, that future phishing attacks won't be able to copy your login screen. They won't be able to see how your login screen is designed, which background image you have, and so on, which makes it a lot harder for an attacker to ensure that someone provides their credentials during a phishing attack, for example. So we can secure all kinds of different SaaS applications. And of course, we can secure our end users themselves, ensuring that all traffic that they will do, be it to a corporate device, but also to just the internet, that it will also be largely secured, and the remote workers are as such being more safe. All right, if you look at the benefits of SASE, a lot have already been covered. But first of all, of course, we have an improved security posture. Next, of course, we have a simplified management of our security. So we won't need a lot of different tools anymore. We can just use one tool to cover a lot of different things. Of course, our user experience will be enhanced. They don't need to manually make each time a VPN connection, for example. We just have a non-tamper-proof agent which is started at boot of your device and which the end user can't disable. So they are actually, they don't have to take any actions to be able to access resources within your organization. And finally, of course, because we can tackle because one solution can cover many solutions that are currently available and provide additional security, we can, of course, reduce the cost of our entire security environment. So actually, SASE will be a tool that will cover almost all risks related to security, but it will have a higher cost when implementing compared to, for example, an email security solution, which is more a quick win. All right, so there's at this point only one issue that we still have, and that is we have implemented a lot of security services, a lot of security products, but now we still need visibility across all different products. Because SASE will cover a lot, but for example, email security, endpoint security, these things we still need additionally. And so if you look at how we can cover the visibility and the actions to be taken on these different kind of services, we eventually come to a SOC, or as it's called at NetLeaf, the Cyber Defense Center. And a SOC will allow us to collect all different kind of logs from all different kind of security solutions. And as such, they will improve our mean time to respond. So we will be able to faster and quicker detect which kind of events are going on, which is mainly it results in a quicker mean time. Quicker mean time to detect results in a quicker mean time to respond. We will be able to already contact or take actions for remote users before, for example, a ransomware will be executed. So all logs will be collected. So the second one I already mentioned. Finally, we can of course ensure that automatic actions are being taken. So we won't need to wait for some manual detection resulting in a manual action being taken, but we can actually manage all different kind of services, endpoint, email, SASE, even a firewall if you still have the firewall on-prem. And you will be able to manage them from one general central location, be it a SOAR and SIEM SOAR platform. And of course, the result is that all your employees and all your assets will be secured. So if you look at the conclusion, first of all, be aware of the risks that are related to all our remote users. Email security and security awareness are a quick win to ensure that the first risks are already tackled. If you want a full solution, at the moment you're replacing your firewalls, for example, consider using a SASE solution to implement at that point in time. And finally, the closing piece of the closing piece of your entire security would be a security operations center. So if you have all different kind of security solutions implemented and you have the feeling that your security is at its top level, at that point in time, we can look into a security operations center to ensure that we even go that step further within your security. So finally, this is the end of my presentation. So thank you very much for attending and for listening. If you are interested in knowing more, we are located right across the theater. Our stand is right here. And if you are interested in having a look into our SOC, you're always welcome to join our or visit our SOC at the 18th of June, where we will demo our solutions, where we will, you can go into conversation with our different SOC experts, and of course, food will be provided. Thank you very much.